Hello and welcome everyone. My name is Tristan Thomas with Mend Sourcing, and in today's video what we're going to do is go into the PIEE system and create an invoice and a receiving report. This will be a step-by-step walkthrough to show you exactly how to do that successfully. So instead of you reading a 20 or 30 page pamphlet that the government provides to you, we thought it would be good to create a video and simplify the entire process. And before we do get started though, if you haven't already, please do subscribe to this channel, as the goal of this channel is to help you win your first contract, or if you're already do government contracting, how to simplify the entire process. Get rid of that confusion that we're all so accustomed to. Okay, so if you haven't already, please do subscribe to this channel below. Now let's dive into doing just that. Let's go over how to create an invoice and the receiving report. As we do that, the first thing that we need to know is exactly, well, first, what is a receiving report? The document that you see right there, it's a PDF that's generated after you've completed the PIEE or going into WAWF and creating a receiving report. Now, the thing about it, what it does is it's verifying that the goods or the services have been received per the contract specification. So it's the right part has been sent, the right quantity has been sent, and the right destination it's been sent to, and so forth. So it's just in essence everything that goes over the key elements per the contract for the end user to verify. Also, what it's doing is it's letting the end person know, have these parts been inspected and accepted already? That would be an inspection and acceptance at origin, or is it something that they need to do at their location? And lastly, what it's doing is it's providing the date and the time of when you actually ship this out to their location. So it's giving them all the information that they know that they need. Okay, so that is what a receiving report is. Now, as we go over what a receiving report is, it's also very helpful to know what a receiving report is not. And I hear this a lot, that the invoice and the receiving report are the same, where in fact they are entirely separate things. You can combine the two together, but just because you generate a receiving report does not mean that you've invoiced the government. All right, the receiving report and the invoice can be combined, but they are not the same, and we'll go over exactly what that the difference is between the two. But our key identifier to know if this is a receiving report and an invoice, or just a receiving report, is that in the top right-hand corner of any receiving report, in the invoice number section, if it is blank, you have not invoiced the government. If there is an invoice number there, that means you have successfully invoiced the government. So make sure that you have that number up there if you intend to invoice the government. What's the difference between the two, or when would you use just a receiving report, and when would you combine the two together, right? This was a lot of confusion that we had when we first started, so let's simplify it for you. If you are going to just generate a receiving report, you should be doing that if you have a shipment of a first article test or a production lot test. So anytime you ship something out to the government, create that receiving report. But with an FAT or a PLT, you cannot invoice them for that FAT or PLT until they have approved that item. All right. So in this case, all you're going to be doing is creating a receiving report. Once the FAT or the PLT is accepted, that is when you can go into the receiving report, and then from that create the invoice. Now, for a majority of the shipments that you send out, you are going to combine a receiving report and the invoice. That's just the shipment of the contract as a whole. So if let's just say I have one contract with 1,000 pieces I need to send to the government, and I send all 1,000 out, well, at that point, I'm going to create a receiving report and invoice combo. So it's doing both at the same time. So if shipping a line item, typically a receiving report and an invoice are combined and done at the same time. And when we go through the walkthrough through the PIEE system, I'll show you when to use it and when not to. Let's look at the different types of receiving reports out there. All right. Now, here is a sample of a receiving report only. Just one pager, PDF, looks just like that. Now, here is the combination of a receiving report and an invoice. It's almost identical. Right? There's really no difference between the two. Only real difference here is up at the top where it says invoice number. So as you can see right here. So invoice number on the receiving report only, there is none. Invoice number here on the combination, it's both of them together. So that's how you can identify the difference between the two. Now, let's go into the PIEE system. What is the PIEE system? Well, first and foremost, you must register to get a login to use PIEE. So please do that prior to trying to log in or winning any awards. But really what the PIEE system is used for, it's a communication tool between you, the vendor, and the government, but it's used to help manage contracts, payments, to know when am I going to get paid, creation of the receiving report, and so forth. Another great piece of the PIEE system is it allows you to check electronic data through a portal that's inside of the PIEE system called Electronic Data Access, and I'll show you exactly where that is. But we use that a lot because sometimes we can't see, or we were never given a modification on a contract even though we requested it, and then we go into electronic data access and lo and behold, there is the modification even though we were never notified about it. So it's just a focal point for all data. That's the electronic data access. Like I mentioned, what the PIEE system is in essence trying to do is it's streamlining communication between you, the vendor, and government agencies. But for this video, the main things that we're going to talk about and to generate that receiving report and that invoice comes down to the wide area workflow, or better known as WAWF, and the section on My Invoice. Now, WAWF, wide area workflow, is used for submitting the receiving report and the invoice. Once that's all taken care of, you then can go back into PIEE, into the section called My Invoice, and you can track invoice payments. You can see, are there any discrepancies about how many you shipped out, or when are you going to get paid, or did you get paid, and specifically what date. It's a wealth of information inside of My Invoice. So for this video, we're going to dive a little bit into, a lot into WAWF, but also into My Invoice. Now, before you dive into this, I just quickly want to go over what documentation you should have ready. It's better to have everything prepared and ready to go prior to just, trying to find things as you're already through WAWF, because it does quickly time out. So my recommendation is to possibly take a snapshot or write down the information I'm going to put here. But before we go into WAWF, I make sure I have all of this information ready to go. So items that you should have prepared, first and foremost, you should have the contract and all modifications. You have the contract number. You have the clean details of what you're going to ship or invoice to the government, to the NSN, the quantity that you ship, shipment details, like where's the location that it's going to, what is the unit price per unit that you're shipping out to the government. Also, what is your shipment number? Is it the first shipment, second shipment, the third? Is it the final? You need to know that information prior to going into the PIEE system. So we have all of that. Also, the invoice number, that's as well too. That's your own internal number to make sure that you can follow easily exactly, okay, I've invoiced the government for this one, but not this one, right? So it's just your indicator to make sure you get paid. And lastly, what we always do is we have all of the RFID numbers ready to go as well too for each box that we ship out, because inside of WAWF, you need to show that you've packed and how many you've packed per box that you ship out to the government. So have your RFID numbers ready. If you're confused or not really sure what an RFID is, I did create a video on ASTM packing, which briefly goes over that RFID. Now, with that, let's dive into the PIEE system. Now, here is the PIEE website right here. So let's log in. So you want to make sure that you have a login. So I'm going to log in right here, and I'm logged now into PIEE. Now, there's different areas that you can go to. All these are different links that are here. I mentioned the electronic data access section. This is a great one. Here's another great one that will create a future video for, which is called the supplier risk system. This just shows the confidence level the government has in that you're going to supply the right item to them. If you don't have this section, it's because you haven't completed enough awards, but you do need to have a SPUR score eventually to get JCP certified, to get prints, technical documents, and so forth. But you can check what your score is with the government, so how confident they are that you're going to be able to supply the item. But for this video, we're just going to focus on wide area workflow, and then from there, I'm going to show you the invoices. So let's click on wide area workflow and dive into this. Now, in wide area workflow, what you want to do is you want to go up to the top section up here, and you want to go to vendor and then go down to create a document. If you've created receiving reports previously, you can go to your history folder. Maybe you've saved items, you can go to save documents and so forth. But just for this video, to make it relatively quick, we're going to click on create document, and now we're inside of WAWF. One thing that you should always remember is that anytime you see an asterisk, that means that area needs to be filled out. If there is no asterisk in that area, you don't have to fill it out. So not everything needs to be filled out, only the asterisks. So in this case, we're going to put down the contract number. Remember, I have everything there already. Okay, so there's my contract number. Go to next, put the contract number in, and it brings me to the next screen. On the next screen, remember, all you have to fill out is the asterisks, but I like to also put in what my reference procurement identifier is. This is my own personal identifier for this item. Once that's done, I now need to select the CLIN that I'm going to be doing the receiving report for. I'm going to click on this. There's only one CLIN for this contract, and then I go to next. now that I'm in, this is all based upon the criteria for this specific contract. Now I need to select the document that I'm wanting to create. Now you have a lot of items that are here, but for this video, we're going to create a combination right here, the invoice and receiving combo. Now, if I wanted just to create a receiving report, I would click on the button above it, or if I just wanted the invoice, I click on the one up at the top. That's really the only three that I do, and we've done hundreds of contracts with the government. Because I have all my information ready to go, it's pretty much a breeze through WAWF. So the first thing that I need to do is select the inspection and acceptance that's on the contract. My contract that I'm working on here is an origin inspection and origin acceptance. But for some reason, we don't see origin here. So source means origin. Origin means source. So if it's not a destination item, you want to, and it's an origin one, you click on source. I don't know why they try to confuse you, but that's just the way it is. Once that's done, you want to click on next. Remember, only asterisk is what I need to do. Now for here, what it's asking is, here's my contract number, my identifier, my cage code, all that information, when the contract was originally awarded, who issued it, who the administrator of this contract is. This is the DCMA out here in California. They also inspected the item since this was origin, but now it's asking for the ship to code. There are times where this defaults, and then there's times that it does not default. So in this case, it did not default to what the contract is. So I look at my contract and I put to where the item was shipped to. This is the DODAC for that, so SW3218. I don't need to tell them where it was shipped from because there's no asterisk and so forth, and now I can click next. Now I'm on the main screen inside of WAWF, and up here what you'll notice is that there's a bunch of tabs up here at the top. All right, and I need to go through each one of these tabs, and we'll do that for this video. Only asterisks, remember, right? So no asterisks over here, but the shipment number is. Now with the shipment number, it needs to be created in a certain way. What you would do is you would put the first three letters of your company. Like ours is Mend Sourcing Solution, so I'm putting MSS, and then I need to do 0001 if it's the first shipment. If it's the second shipment, it's 2, third shipment 3, whatever it is. In this case, this is the second shipment I'm doing, and also, and this is very important, this is the last shipment, so I have to put the letter Z at the end. I've seen companies that have received corrective action reports from the DLA because they didn't put the Z to let them know that this was a final shipment with the shipment number. By all means, if this is your last shipment to the government for this contract, make sure to put a Z. So let's just say theoretically that I had 1,000 pieces that I wanted to ship, right? And I haven't shipped out anything. And I'm only shipping out 500 for the first time. Well, then I would put MSS 0001. Then for my second order, if it's another 500, which would complete the entire contract, I would put 2Z. Next thing here, I need to put the ship date. Ship date was here, which was October 3rd. Is this the final shipment? Yes, it is the final shipment. And then I'm going to put my invoice number because it's a combination. And then also, is this my final invoice? It is my final invoice, so I click on yes. And then everything else below here, there are no asterisks, so I don't need to do anything else. Now I'm going to go over to address, and I like to make sure that all the addresses are correct, but all of these typically default to whatever the contract is, but I like to make sure, okay, all of those are correct. All these sections that are here are in the boxes, usually on the first page of the contract or at the contract line item. So you can fill, or you can check these to make sure it's correct. If you want to give the government a discount to pay you early, you can put that here. Now for the Mark 4 and the comment section, I put exactly the same text for both. The reason why is because this is just a little comment box that allows each person that touches the final shipment to know exactly what's inside of this box. So in this case, what we did is we shipped out one box, total full shipment of 3,414 pieces. This completes contract, and tracking number is XYZ, whatever the tracking number is that I have. The reason why I have all of this information here is because I want that person to know, hey, look, don't miscount how many I gave you. I gave you 3,414. Do not mess this up where it shows 3,400 pieces and the government doesn't pay me for the full amount. Then you got to go through a whole counting process, and it just extends the length of this, right? So what I have found out is that if I put all the information here, typically we get an accurate counting on their end. So I put that information here, and I just copy it for the secondary, and I go back to comments and I do exactly the same thing. That's the way that I've done it, and it works for us. Now, line item, go to line item here. I'm on the next one. And now for the line item, what I want to do is you'll see this item as being red, which means I need to fix this. As of right now, it's invalid. I click on edit. And now it brings me to a new screen. Now this is going over contract line item number 1. So what I want to do is I want to make sure, yes, this is the right contract line item number. Yes, this is the right NSN. I want to choose national stock number here. Sometimes it doesn't default to that. It actually goes to here, and I need to drop down to here. And then I want to tell them how many I actually shipped. So in this case, I shipped 3,414 pieces, the total amount. Unit of measure is EA. This is the price. So I'm invoicing the government for $21,064.38. All the other stuff, no asterisk, so I don't need to complete it. And then this description here. Most of the time it's going to default, but sometimes it won't. I would just put the description of the item. So this one is a bolt machine, so we're good. So all the information is complete here. And now I want to go to the bottom left to go to where it says Save CLIN. Click on Save CLIN, and now that error is gone. So what I'm going to do now is I'm invoicing the government for 3,414 pieces. I shipped out 314 pieces. All right. Now what they're wanting to know is, okay, well, how did you do it? So I'm going to go to this area called pack, and then I want to show them how I packed these items. How many boxes did I use? So I need to go to click action and go to add. And now I want to put in what the RFID number is of this item. The RFID item for this item, let's see, is this. I have all that information ready. I put in that RFID there and I press save. So what I'm telling the government now is that there's one box that I shipped out to you. If there was additional boxes, I would put the next one down and so on. So for each exterior box that I'm shipping out, I need to have an RFID number here. But in this case, I only shipped out one box. Now that I have that RFID for one box, it's like, okay, well, how did you pack that one box? So I need to go to this section where it says pack CLIN. And now in this area, what it's saying is okay, we have contract line item number 1. This is how many you said we shipped, but how many did you pack inside of that one box? And the difference right now is 3,414. The goal here is to make this total packed equal total shipped and the difference be 0. Now, since I only shipped one box, I'm going to now put 3414. If I only ship, let's just say 414 pieces, well, that means I'm only doing a partial shipment of 414, and where's the other box of 3,000 pieces? So in this case, 3414, everything's the same, 3414, 3414, 0. I'm good to go here. So I go to Save Pack CLIN, bottom left. We're good to go on all this. I packed it correctly. RFID here for this one box shows CLIN, quantity, amount, and whatnot. If I want to attach any items for the end user to review, maybe it's a packing slip that you have or first article acceptance, I would attach it here. So I can do this and I would attach that item and I'd go to upload. You click upload and now you select exactly what the attachment type is. And now there's a laundry list of things that you can put here. Things are going to be different for different people who are watching this video, but for me personally, the only things that really mean anything to us is the first article acceptance. So maybe I want to attach that. Maybe it's a production lot acceptance, or if there's anything else outside of that, I click on other. I have this item, that's other. This is actually a packing slip I'm sending out. Now, miscellaneous amounts, maybe there's other fees you want to charge the government. I've never used this, but if you want to, you can add this to charge them additional amounts. They have this section here. Then you have a preview CI section, and you have a preview RR section. So what I would do then is miscellaneous amounts, like I mentioned, I don't do anything there. Maybe you have to. Preview CI section, I just review the information to make sure it's accurate, but I always go to preview RR. When I go to preview RR, thing that I always do prior to pressing the submit button, and only when I press the submit button will it actually be sent to the DLA, I want to make sure I retain documentation. So I click on this where it says print document and print pack. So now what it's done is it's given me all these items. Give you an example. This is the receiving report that I have just created. Now, just because I've pressed print document does not mean that it's completed. What I would do then is I would look and review all the information to make sure it's correct. But then after that's all taken care of, I would click on submit. Now, I'm not going to click on submit now just because this is just for illustrative purposes to kind of give you a walkthrough of how it is, but I would click on this, and only when I click on this has it been completed. Now, for my receiving report, let's go over this. I document everything. I keep everything, all tracking numbers, all receiving reports, and I keep it in a folder just because if there is any misplacement elsewhere, I have everything at my disposal to prove I did what I said I did. Now, going over a few different things, the receiving report, it's going to show the contract number here. It's going to show the shipment number, and it's going to show the invoice number. I scroll down, going to show you all the information of where everything was sent, and then it's going to show you the contract line item number and how much I've invoiced the government for. So I save this in the folder for this particular contract. And once I press that submit button, going back to this, once I press on submit button after this, that is complete and we're good to go. All right. So that's WAWF in a nutshell. receiving report, and an invoice. Both of those are taken care of. Now, once that's all done and everything is approved, I can then see that invoice that I've sent out to the government under the My Invoice section. Now, once that's all done and the WAWF has, the receiving report has been completed, the invoice has been completed, I can then find all of that and I can track the invoice under the My Invoice section. So I click on My Invoice section, and now it's going to bring up this new portal inside of PIEE. All right, this is different than WAWF. This is My Invoice. I'd go up to where it says reports, click on reports, and I like to look in. Again, you can go in here. You're not going to break anything, so you can check this stuff. But just to do this quickly, I'd go to status and date report, and then you can look and see what is active or what is archived. Anything more than 30 days becomes archived. But if we're looking at active, you can see the list here. All right, so let's just look at archived and things that have been paid before in the past. I can click on search, and now I have all the pages, 15 pages here, just everything that we've been paid over time. Looking at this, your status and date report have all the information, how much the government paid you and so forth, but you can look at the details over here under the action, click on details, and it'll give you all the information about that invoice that you sent. If there's any discrepancies, the discrepancies will be here. It'll show you how much you invoiced them. It'll show exactly how much they paid. It'll show you exactly when you got paid as well too, so you can check your bank account to make sure the number is exactly the same. But again, this is My Invoice. I like to go in here every Friday just to kind of make sure everything is, you know, on pace to actually get paid in time. If there's any discrepancies, I reach out to the DLA to go over it, and they're very helpful as well too. All right, so with all of that, that is WAWF and My Invoice as quickly as we can do it. You could read a 20-30 pager, like I mentioned before, that the DLA gives you, but I thought this walkthrough would be helpful. So hopefully this video does help. And if you do have any questions or any comments, please leave them below, because I do take the time to go over all of that. And for those that haven't subscribed to this channel and are in government contracting or are looking to get into government contracting, please, like I mentioned, do subscribe to this channel. If you reach out to me, you can always go to www.mendsourcing.com and go to our Contact Us page. I make sure to reach out to everyone that reaches out to us. And with that, be on the lookout for our next video next week. Thank you, and you have a good day.